Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. I got a message from Chris James who asked me if I could do video breakdowns on the history of salsa going back to Africa because he hears these words like Elegua, Yoruba, Orishas. What does all this mean and how does it impact salsa? So we're going to break it down in a whole bunch of parts, so stay tuned. So let's jump right into it. So going back to the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade of the 1400s, all the way up to the 1800s, 19th century, where a majority of slaves came from the western part of Africa. As you can see with my mouse, I'm highlighting the region that a lot of the slaves came from, and in particular, this black outline region is the Yoruba people. All right, this was a group of people who had similar values, culture, tradition, known as Yoruba. All right, they had the same religion, language, all that, and a lot of those slaves went to the Caribbean area and South America, and they brought with them their traditions, which you will see influence Afro-Cuban dance culture and make their way into modern day salsa. So the big players in the slave trade started out with Brazil and Spain, who really took a lot, majority, you'll see a majority of the slaves to South America, in particular Brazil, and then the Caribbeans. And then of course you also had the French, the English, and the Dutch who took slaves as well to their regions. And then you will have some go to North America. So it is estimated that there were about 10 to 12 million African slaves brought from Africa to the New World. That includes North America to South America. As I mentioned, Yoruba is a smaller portion of that, but a majority of them went to the Caribbean area. And like I said, it's a very complex and rich heritage and culture, and they have many different gods and traditions, and I'll break all that down in a later video. So in terms of the breakdown of which slaves went where, the majority of them went to the Caribbean and South America. As you can see per this chart, and all of my facts and information come from real sources, academic sources, journals, articles. In this case, you can see that only about 5% went to the United States, whereas 60% of slaves went to the Caribbean area, Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba. Per country, Brazil had the most slaves. As you can see here, on my numbers, slaves to Brazil, you have about 5 million, whereas 1.2 million in the Caribbean, that was actually just Jamaica alone had 1.2 million. The rest of the numbers pretty much get spread out between the other countries and in particular Central America. The slave trade did end in 1807. That was when the act was passed. Of course, it still lingered on here and there under the table, but that is when most slaves stopped being traded on a large scale from Africa.